Good morning, everyone. Yesterday, the Christchurch attack blew up on social media. Everybody was talking about it. People were chiming in about it. News articles were written about politicians changing their position or their Twitter condolence about this specific attack. And I find the news so disingenuous. They lie. And they lie by over-reporting certain things and under-reporting other things. And making certain things into a really big deal and other things into no deal at all by not reporting them, right? Like, oh, nothing to see here. That's not news. People in Canada don't want to read about that, so they don't report it. What do I mean? Well, let's go through what exactly the news reports look like when a radicalized Islamist shoots up a concert or something, right? Don't look back in anger becomes symbol of Manchester's spirit. They're not going to break us, right? Everything's going to be fine. We're going to carry on as normal. On the left, quote, white nationalism infuses our political ideology. Dylan Roof is just the beginning. Dylan Roof's manifesto is fluent in white nationalist ideology. How the Charleston shooting is linked to the Confederate flag, according to a South Carolinian. And then on the right, ideology usually just rationale for mentally ill attacker, says expert. Omar Mateen, lone wolf terrorist. He was not a stable person. Orlando shooter showed signs of emotional trouble. Remember this one? Suspected Toronto shooter struggled with severe mental illness, family says. There seems to be a pattern. And another pattern, big attacks that kill a lot of people. Just 15 days ago in Nigeria, 40 Christians killed in attacks. At least 32 people were killed in a Muslim Fulani herder attack on a Christian area in north-central Nigeria on Tuesday. Well, that's not news in Canada, right? Nobody wants to hear about that. Here's another one, maybe 15 days ago, maybe February's too long ago. How about 10 days or 11 days ago? On the 4th of March, radical Muslims murdered 32 Nigerian Christians, torched church in brutal attack. I don't know if these are the same attacks or if these are another 30 Christians in a different attack 5 days later. Could be. I'm not sure. I haven't done that much reading. CBN News. So this is Christian Broadcasting Network. Again, not mainstream. People aren't saying never again, hashtag no more hate. It's not news. Not in the West, anyway. Here's another one. 120 Christians slaughtered by Muslim herders in Nigeria. Media silent. That's March 15th. So I find that interesting, and that's kind of what I'm reporting as well. Media silent. At least 120 people have been killed by alleged Fulani Muslim militant attacks since February in the Kaduna state of Nigeria, with the latest attacks on Monday resulting in the deaths of over 50 and the destruction of more than 140 homes. Well, I mean, that's exactly the same amount of people killed in the New Zealand attacks, but still the media is silent. And here's the Toronto Star. Why am I showing you this? The Eritrean refugees were quietly welcomed to Canada, thousands of them. Unlike the media frenzy that marked the arrival of 60,000 Syrian refugees to Canada, federal officials have quietly achieved another immigration feat that has largely gone unnoticed. They eliminated one of the country's worst refugee resettlement backlogs and ushered in 12,000 Eritreans to begin new lives in Canada. So Nigeria, people being killed by radical Muslims by anybody's description, or my description, but I mean, if you're going around killing people for them being Christian and you are a Muslim Fulani herder, like, that's radicalized to some degree. And here's Nigeria, here's Eritrea. Sorry if I've got that wrong. Right? Shouldn't this be news? These people are geographically close, and I'm not saying that the people we're importing have that will to kill Christian people, but we are, and have been for all of our history, Canada, a Christian nation. Right? And so it's concerning to be bringing in a lot of people from places where there are a lot of Christians regularly killed. And we can also see in places like London and Paris increase in rape attacks, decrease in women feeling safe walking alone, increase in all sorts of different violent crimes. This is not made up. This is not a conspiracy theory. You can look at it yourself. And usually I have links, but this is a bit of a tangent here, so I apologize. I'll get links later. But Forbes weighs in on the New Zealand terror attack, and they say after the New Zealand terror attack, here's why 8chan won't be wiped from the web, but they're calling for 8chan to be wiped from the web, despite the fact that Facebook was the one to live stream the ghastly event. Nobody's calling for Facebook to be wiped from the internet. They couldn't bring that feed down. But 8chan, where he said, I'm going to go and do this now, that should be brought down, according to this article. Ridiculous. And I'm not going to go through this article because I'm not interested necessarily in the actual attack. I'm more interested in the completely unbalanced media and the one theme they're pushing, right? If you are a white person committing a crime, you are automatically a white nationalist and radical alt-right. And if you are a Muslim person committing a crime or a shooting, you are mentally ill and had issues and nothing to see here. It's so plain to see. The other aspect of this is politicians getting in on tweeting about this. It's like I don't know, they're expected to tweet about this. And if they don't tweet about it, it's news. And if they do tweet about it incorrectly, it's news. And if they don't tweet about it enough, it's news. It's a really sick system. And I think one that we should stop utilizing. I think that Canadian politicians should focus on Canada. And not to say that Canada's place in the world, we don't comment on shootings, etc. But this burgeons on glorifying it, glamorizing it. You know, they're using it to push their ideology. They're not saying, man, I'm sorry that happened. They're saying, see, we can never do this. We're going to be so much better than this. See what happened because of hatred. We're going to be better than hatred. They're using it as a wedge instead of saying we're really sorry. And that's the problem that I have with this. So here's Ahmed Hussen, our Minister for Immigration and Refugees. And he says, quote, we should never be afraid to name the victims and to name the religion and to name the places of worship that people are targeted in. We can never normalize this hatred. And he's talking about a vigil held in Toronto for victims of the mosque attack. And again, number two, second tweet about this, hatred has consequences. Devastated to learn of the attacks against Muslim worshippers at mosques in Christchurch, New Zealand. My prayers are with the victims and their families. That was the first tweet, I suppose. And he has a bunch of retweets. Here's a retweet from Justin Trudeau talking about attacking people during prayers is absolutely appalling, blah, 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 blah. Okay, right? But this has become sport. This has become, we have to talk about this, otherwise, I don't know. I'm not sure. So people have called Maxime Bernier out on this, and he says, Maxime Bernier is tweeting about it, and he says, quote, some journalists have no decency. Did this one harass me or anybody else when dozens of Christians were massacred in Nigeria and the Philippines weeks ago? Why not? As a rule, I don't comment on these horrible tragedies in other countries, period. And that's in response to Stephen Marr saying, no tweet from Maxime Bernier or the People's Party about terrorist attack in Christchurch. He likely wants to avoid alienating some of his supporters by expressing solidarity with the victims. And I mean, just a tasteless tweet and a ridiculous thing to say. And here is Maxime Bernier responding again. He said, after this is an interaction, the response was, that's not true. Maxime Bernier has commented on incidents in other countries around the world. At home, people of all faiths should be able to worship freely and peacefully. Bernier's justification for his unwillingness to call out violence against Muslims is deeply troubling. And Bernier responds, yes, at the Twitter person, I commented during leadership race 2 years ago. Then I stopped when I realized it was a silly race between politicians to score points by saying platitudes about awful tragedies. But why didn't you make a similar fuss when as many Christians were massacred weeks ago? And I mean, yeah, that's the whole point of this video. The imbalance in the press is just appalling and plain as day when you look for it. Maxime Bernier says, that's the same tweet I just read, so I'm not going to repeat it. And here's Andrew Scheer swinging for the fences and missing again. CTV News reporting. Andrew, after criticism, Scheer adds word Muslim to statement on New Zealand mosque attacks. Yeah. I'm not even going to read this because you have to pander for your sympathy statement. Like, sorry about that. Really sorry about that. Seriously. The more Max speaks, and I think other people have said this too, but the more Mr. Bernier puts out his positions and the more he defends his positions, the more I like his positions. I'm biased, you have to know that, but really, after criticism that he didn't say Muslim enough, he said, all right, fine, I'll put the Muslim on there and edit the tweet. Edit the trade deal. Sure, give them what they want. I'm sure we could find common ground. I'm sure we could find a pipeline the pipeline goes through Quebec, except that SNC does a lot of business with Saudi Arabia, so they're going to need a lot more money than the money that you're going to give them in your fair deal there, Andrew. Sorry, dude. You're not getting it. You're not getting it. Okay. Thanks for watching, everybody. Check out the peoplespartyofcanada.ca for maybe some strong leadership who understands what we're up against, hopefully. Check out the peoplespartyofcanada.ca. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful day.